Today on the channel, we're talking to the Falcon. The Falcon, thanks Vishal for that. The Falcon is a guy that started following me on Twitter. He is an investor, crypto guy, but he actually wanted to flip the script and interview me. So if you want some updates about what we're doing in India and how it's going recently in the last few months in my world, then check out this interview with the Falcon. By the way, before we jump into it, make sure you're subscribed down below and smash that like button if you want to see more content like this. This video is brought to you by Email 10K. Learn how to book meetings with billion-dollar brands and take your company to the next level at email10k.com.
All right. Well, hey, you want to get into it?
Let's go.
I brought this up, and with Alex, we've had some good conversations in the past, and I honestly, I've been watching some of your YouTube videos. I didn't even know I don't go on YouTube at all, and I think I went over there and saw you had 64,000 subscribers or so, probably a little bit higher now. You got a decent channel running and all these different concepts and talks, and your talk in front of the Taj Mahal was pretty awesome to see for someone who doesn't travel outside of a 2-mile radius and fills up his gas tank once every 3 months. So it's it's kind of living vicariously through someone else traveling. So I was curious, I was interested in general. What's your backstory leading up to traveling? I can only assume you're a U.S. citizen. Maybe I should have done some background research here. What got you to make this jump and leap? And did you have a business concept in mind, or are you truly making it up along the way? And what's that journey look like as you go?
So this year we've been trying to reinvent everything. I don't know what happened, dude. December of 2020. Me and my co-founder realized we needed to double down on our lead generation agency, because for the entire 2020, we basically realized we hated lead gen. So we spun down our 7-figure agency to focus only on courses. So then we spun our courses up to about $400,000 or $500,000 in 2020. And then by the end of 2020, we were like, are we retarded? Are we retarded? Why don't we do the courses and the agency at the same time? So then Robert started spinning up the agency again. And I moved back out to Las Vegas in early 2021. But I've just been in a full reconstruction cycle of everything. And that led to Twitter, which then led to us rebuilding a bunch of courses. So I launched a bunch of courses like Cold Email University, all this stuff. And one of the other courses that I thought of, as I was sitting here thinking of what would be all of the courses that I could possibly launch, right? There's a Twitter course, there's a cold email course, there's a LinkedIn course. What about a course for people that are outside the US learning how to speak English in a way that'll make them get paid 10 times more? So I had that idea in Vegas, and I realized might as well go to India and do it.
That's not a normal thought though. You know what I'm like? That's just, but that's what I love about you. I think that's what's so interesting is you're doing what people think of, and you're a bit of a spaz. I say that in the most loving way possible, but I think that's what's great is just you're in every direction at all times. Sometimes I think you're the only other person on Twitter as I see your feed fill up the entire time. It's just you got a lot of energy, and I think you're embracing that by physically getting out and about and meeting people.
I'm trying to, and I think it also comes down to there's so many gurus on Twitter, and they're all theory. So some people will talk about starting an agency, and then they'll teach a course on starting an agency, but they'll never start one. And I didn't want that to be American English. I didn't want to make a course about how to learn English without hanging out with a bunch of ESL people and actually talking to agency owners and doing all this stuff and actually training. Robert said this. He was a poor Romanian farmer, $0 in his bank account. The reason he learned English and the way he was able to actually generate $27,000 per website, all this stuff, he said it was because me and him used to do these proposal teardowns where I would take his content and his proposals in broken English, and I would just tear it down and change every single word. So there's little stuff that I feel I've been doing the whole time. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that till I came to India and Robert told me that. I had no idea.
So, and it's such a, those are the best concepts, or the ones that you don't even realize. They just happen naturally. And I think that's what's interesting about it. I'm a longtime user of Fiverr. I've probably, I can't recall if that one changed its name. There's Guru and Upwork and Fiverr, and it's all kind of the same. I'm sure it's the same exact people with slight differences. But you could tell, like, there's the, call it foreigners for lack of a better term, just throwing people in buckets here, just like a classic American. And there's people who have figured it out, and you can tell because they're charging American prices. But
Yeah, and
that
based on
landing page is in flawless English. And who are you going to trust? And to me, this isn't a diversity issue. It's a, how well can you communicate? Are you like me enough to where we know we're going to gel? And a lot of people, when they're going to Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, I don't know about you, but it's a last minute, oh crap, I don't have a vendor moment. And I'll tell you, the first person to reply, I could care less what their pricing is, to be honest, but I do need to know that they can communicate. So finding someone whose setup has all the right, they say all the right things and they say it in the right way. That's very, very important. So yeah, that's wild that you went through that experience and it just turned into a product. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as that, but you just got to run with it.
I agree. And it's so simple, right? Because like when I'm hiring somebody, I will usually hire within about 10 minutes of getting the first good reply. I'm exactly like you. I normally don't even talk to them. I don't know if this is how everyone does it, but like I'll just hit go. We've spent over 250,000 on Upwork.
Yeah.
And it's just like that basically over and over again, hiring people. So
well,
it seemed like a layup to people for people in the third world. It seemed like a layup to 10x your salary, especially when you're making $150 a month, to go from 150 to 1,500.
It's back to the one of my cheesiest book in the world, The Millionaire Mindset. But hey, I mean, it changed the way I think about money. If you think in hundreds, think in thousands. If you think in thousands, think in 10,000s. If you think in 10,000s, try 100. Why not? And just be open to the cosmos, or call it what you will, giving you plentiful opportunity. But you have to be willing to take that opportunity. And I think that's a mindset thing. Let's say in a country where it's typical for 100, 150 bucks as a monthly salary, it just seems impossible to say that you could be bringing in 6,000. It's probably not even like mentally possible. Like people just probably don't think that way at all.
There's multiple levels. So I talked to this guy, Bruno Nwogu, who's an affiliate marketer in Nigeria. And Bruno used to make $100 a month, which is basically $1 a day. And he said that as soon as he made like $150 a month freelance, he actually just wanted to stop working, like, because that was enough money for him. So it's also that, like, you can make 150 and live comfortably. And even like the currencies, he was saying the currencies are different. Like, what did he say? He said as soon as he started making 1,500 a month, he was making six figures in Naira. And so there was no reason for him to keep going. He felt like he was already making all this Naira, but it was only by converting his Naira into US dollars that he could see how little money he actually had.
And that's one of my favorite plays on those sites, is giving people a $5 to $10 an hour bump, just because it's so low. I mean, it's just so low in a lot of cases. And there are some stellar people out there. But the urge is to think if you can't communicate, there's less intelligence or creativity or capability. And I think we all know after experience that that's not the case. So you really are, I feel, giving people an opportunity to portray themselves as they should be portrayed. And I don't doubt that you're able to get those multiples that you're talking about. So have you had a pretty successful start to that launch? Or are you still kind of in the testing phase of adjusting as you go?
So we tried a couple different things. First, we started, it was just called American English, and it was $49 a month. And we were selling a couple. I think we sold like 12 or maybe 14 of them at 49. And then I was having dinner with this kid out here. We were having Chinese food, and he was just like grilling me. He's like, bro, I speak English. I would never buy a fucking course called American English. You got to change the name. And also, I don't have $49. Like courses in India, he was saying courses in India cost like 500 to 1,000 INR, which is like $8 to $14. So I was thinking, all right, let's price it as cheap as possible, and we'll call it something else. I didn't know what it was. So I lowered the price, still called it American English. The next morning, I was like, all right, it's $8. And we started getting some sales, but not that many. And then Daniel, Cold Email Wizard, actually reached out and he's like, bro, just call it fucking how to sign clients as an Indian. And I was like, okay. And I called it how to sign clients as an Indian. And then all of a sudden we went from like, whatever, 1 or 2 sales that day to like 12. And then I realized Indian's kind of limiting. So I changed it to how to sign clients as a non-native. and then just sales have been going up. We've sold over 100 of them now. About 20 of them through Facebook ads too. So we're slowly ramping up our Facebook ads. This, to me, feels like the early stages of a home run, of $1 billion idea, because we have now an international cold audience on Facebook ads that are converting, and they're converting profitably, and there's so many of them, right? Even just the population of, let's not even say India, dude. Like the population of Bangladesh is like 300 million. So if we get like 10% of Bangladesh, that's already 30 million people. Or even 1% of Bangladesh is 3 million people at $8 a course. Like the scale of this is insane. It's insane. And I will be failing if I don't get $1 billion in sales. That's how I feel.
Hey, aim for $1 billion, and if you get 50 million, you could probably live with that, right? So that's funny. I come from custom. Everything we do is custom at my company, and so it's intriguing to watch people create recurring revenue. Obviously, there's a lot of work in marketing. You got a lot more work in marketing, whereas I don't really dabble in that world so much. I'm all customer service and custom content creation, but you're going for kind of an off-the-shelf solution, but constantly adapting and not giving it up. I remember the mobile app game back in the day. I used to do a lot of that. Just making an update was such a pain in the ass that you would basically kick one out the door and abandon the thing. And there's a ton of that out there in these sorts of spaces. So I think it's really important, if you want a true winner, don't marry your concept, don't get emotional about it, and just do what's right. And you seem like one of those A/B testing types that's like, whatever, we'll try it, we'll see what happens, and roll with it.
And I used to sell software like that too. My co-founder Robert still runs a software agency. But yeah, I used to also sell like, $150,000 mobile apps with like the API and everything. And it was exactly that same concept. Like we'd build this app for a major corporation, they would launch it, and they'd never touch it again, ever. And I hated that, bro. So with American English, I just use Gumroad, and I've changed the landing page an incalculable amount of times. Like if you've just seen the evolution of this thing, it's at least like 15 overhauls, like 3 different video sales letters, multiple different headlines, multiple different pieces of copy. Like we've added testimonials. Like this whole evolution has happened. And even the pricing, right? Going from $49 to $8, if we were in a corporation, that never would happen. And yet,
yeah,
like I love taking advantage of this kind of stuff. And we're launching so much new stuff with that in mind. Like I was just talking to Robert, because we're launching our lead gen platform in a couple weeks. And he was like, oh, we need a website, right? And he wanted to go through the old style concept of hard coding a website. And I was like, bro, we need to make this website in a way that I could just get in there and edit it, because we're going to change it like 3,000 times before this thing hits.
Yeah, that's easy. You go into Microsoft Word, save as HTML, and you're done. I mean, that's the natural way.
You think so? No, because we were running another software called BotFuse earlier this year, and we got 0 customers on it. And the reason why was because the changes to the landing page took so long to propagate through the dev team that the thing, by the time it was implemented, I had already moved on mentally from the experiment. So we ended up selling that software. We sold it for $10,000, and that was with 0 customers. Like that could have been, millions of dollars if we had gotten it to work correctly. So I don't want that to happen on LeadShark. And I really didn't want that to happen on American English.
As a side note, have you ever heard of the software called Optimizely?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit pricey, but stuff like that impresses me. You can edit on top of a live site. No, I like simple stuff. And anytime someone gets technical, I don't know, my brain shuts down a little bit. I'm more of like a hands-on, just try it, kick it out the door type of person. Most people have like a 3 to 9 month dev cycle in my industry. We do it in about 3 days and shoot for final with no revision rounds. I'm just more a fan of just slap it out the door. And if we got issues, it's 10 times easier to do some quick touch up than it is to be a perfectionist.
It's interesting to do both because, so LeadShark is the 9-month dev cycle. So we thought of this lead generation platform in February, put $72,000 to $75,000 behind the development of it. And now it's almost ready, right? In the meantime, we built a $400 browse domains tool. We built Twitter Threader, which was like $1,000. Now we're working on I don't even know if I want to announce this. It's like a competitor to Gumroad, like a product thing, but for international payments. And that's like $1,200, like built in a couple weeks. So it's just, it's going to be interesting to see if LeadShark hits. I hope it hits. I hope putting this much into the dev makes it hit harder. But I don't know, American English hit with me putting nothing into the dev.
I mean, the trick is you committed your life to it. So I wouldn't say nothing, but yeah, I mean, maybe monetarily, it's
Yeah.
more of a concept than a high dollar item. And you never know. And I think that's what a lot of people miss about entrepreneurship is in some cases, it's a numbers game of just keep throwing something at the wall until it sticks. And if you got a lot of ideas, I'd say you're more of the serial entrepreneur type. Personally, I'm a one idea person running a lifestyle business. Totally different. Totally different. Don't believe in scaling and growth in the same way at all. I believe in adjusting efficiency and better margins and raising prices as opposed to doubling to get that same result. So, I think there's a lot of perspective in the business world on how to go and where. So
You're
let
more
me,
like my you're more like my co-founder. That's exactly, and I think that's why me and Robert get along so well, is because I'm always doing like the crazy nonsense, and then he's the one who makes sure that the crazy nonsense actually pays the bills. Because if it was up to me, I would spend 100K tomorrow on something. I don't know what it would be, dude. I'd
yeah,
probably
yeah,
buy a fucking ape, and I'd be like, this is the greatest investment of all time,
yeah,
and it
great.
might pay off. Literally, it might pay off in like 6 months. But Robert's the type of guy who would keep us floating for that 6 months.
I guess keep your accounts separate. So I'm curious, what's the most alienating, let's say, culture shock moment that you've had since you've gone to India? What you seem like you're fitting in way too well. Like I don't know. I feel like you're not having any problems. So I don't know if it's just your chronically positive attitude and you're hiding all of the dark secrets, or is there just something that's happened to you that threw you off, or it wasn't expected, or I don't know. It's just a generally interesting story.
there's no there's no real dark secrets of India. No one really has guns, so it's not dangerous at all. Like there's there's a couple of weird things that happened. Okay, so I was at the train station, and there was like this little kid, this little girl beggar, and she was asking for money, and so I gave her like whatever 100 rupee, which to her was like so much money. To me, that's like $3 or $4. And then she ran
Yeah.
back to her mom, and then her mom sent her next kid over to get more money. And then that kid, I gave him some money, and then the next kid came over, and before long there was a giant crowd of people, and we couldn't get away from these people. We were waiting for the Uber, and that was actually kind of terrifying. I ended up giving away probably like about $100 worth of dollars, so tens of thousands of rupees to these kids and these beggars. That was a huge culture shock. They also don't have toilet paper out here in a lot of the smaller Airbnbs. So I had to figure out how to wash using like this, like like at your sink when they have like that sprayer. That's what they use here for toilet paper. Is that sprayer thing? Here we can change. You want to change the title to something?
Oh,
So
just something a little more broad, I think, and
I'll say toilets in India.
something or business journey, something. Let's say
Okay, we'll make it the
something,
business journey.
something
But yeah,
accessible. There we go.
that was the hardest part. But no, you say like how are you stable? How are you happy out here? I mean, now I know what to do. I know to buy toilet paper if I'm going to be staying somewhere, and then it's
Yeah.
fine. Or I can actually use the sprayer too if I have to. I know that like there's no hot water in some spots, so I make my team check now to make sure there's hot water before I stay in a hotel.
Because you're
But
moving
basically,
all over, right? You're not really how grounded are you? Like every month you're moving somewhere else?
yeah. So Div, first we were moving every week or every couple days, but Div, who's our lead YouTube producer, he's having a kid, and his wife is in the 9th month of the pregnancy, so she could have this kid at any second. So now we're camped out in Faridabad, and I finally am settled. I think I'm going to be in this hotel room for about 30 days, which is the longest I've been anywhere in months.
Yeah.
But dude, they got hot water here. They got toilet paper. Like I'm fucking ready.
I guess it changed your perspective on what makes you happy too. So it's just, it's like probably the simple things and
I've always loved. I didn't realize this till I got to India, but I've loved the grimy aesthetic my entire life, dude. Even like the fanciest stuff in India is like a little dirty, or like this is a pretty high end hotel. This wallpaper is just kind of crumbled on the bottom, and like there's like a hole in the wall over there. Like even in the highest end spots, and I actually
yeah.
really love that level of grime.
Well, I guess you didn't get where you're at without being able to roll with it. So I think if you're too picky, then you got some other issues. But yeah, I think your good attitude is attracting others around you and right. It doesn't seem like much is getting you down. So
So
Sounds like an adventurous phase of your life. Do
it's
you
fun.
do you have an end goal in mind? I'm going to assume you're not settling down there permanently. You're kind of on a road trip, right? Like a business road trip in some odd sense.
I am living completely in the moment and I have no idea. I wanted to go to Romania to do the launch of this SaaS, but my co-founder might go to the UK, so I might go to the UK after that. But I can't go to the UK if I'm not vaccinated, so I might just stay in India. I love India, dude. I think if I could find a couple good girls out here, and I've already been practicing my day game, dude. I've been hitting on all sorts of random women everywhere I go. I think if I can find a good girl here, there's no reason to leave. I'll learn a little Hindi, dude. I don't care. Whatever.
I mean, it's an amazing culture. I think that I think you're onto something. It's just right. I've never seen someone actually go and do it. You know, like you said, I think to your earlier point, there's a lot of people who talk. Yeah, and maybe it's based on personal experience. I know a lot of the stuff that I try to write is based on personal experience, but I'm not traveled. I mean, I'm definitely not traveled. And if I wrote a course on I'm trying to think of the stuff we write courses on, generally food service and franchises. So I'm not really going to go on some world tour to go look at behind the scenes at McDonald's,
You could.
but I could.
You could also study like Jollibee, come down to the Philippines. Like you could do that. A lot of stuff you could do, bro. Burger Sing. There's a lot of crazy franchises here in India. Burger Sing is the vegetarian Burger King that
Oh,
has taken
nice.
over all of India.
Yeah, it's I think one of the biggest things is opportunity abounds, and it's not shutting yourself down to what's going to come at you. So I've seen a few accounts, especially on Twitter, where it's like, hey, we're not launching one thing, we're launching three things. Oh, and I bought this other thing, and now I'm launching another thing, and it's back to the whole see what sticks. I think the real key is getting devs and getting vendors that you trust. I don't know if you agree. I would assume you agree, but there's nothing better than a long-term vendor who could potentially become an employee, who could become a business partner. There's all sorts of opportunities out there. But I'm able to double this amount of business that I do when I've got a good team of vendors. I'm no longer scared of overflow work because I'm not paying them full time. But the second I have that extra work, I don't need to turn it down and I can still make my margins. And it's a very freeing thing to not feel like you got to do everything yourself. So what are your thoughts on delegation, and how much is you and how much do you just pass over to your team?
So we have a really solid team in India now. I mean, Dev has been working with us for 3 years, and now we've got Vishal, who's our project manager, Vishnu, who's Dev's assistant, Monica, who's doing all of our designs, including our NFT run. She owns half of Betty's NFT. And then we've got like Ankit, who does our course research. There's a huge team. And then on Robert's side, he's got Michelle, Alina, and we have 4 or 5 sales guys with X27. So there's a lot of people floating around here. The way that I kind of see it is, I'm a starter. That's my favorite thing, is starting things, and that's what I'm the best at. And other people are very good middlers. Other people love jobs. They love having a job, and they love working towards a goal. And so it's up to me to start, jobs for them. That's the way I think about it. So like right now, Ankit isn't really loving his job as course development. I think he really got burned out after the agency growth masterclass fiasco.
Yeah.
And so now he's like wanting to do SaaS. So he came up with this whole plan for how he's going to help market Lead Shark. And now me and Robert are thinking about, maybe we'll just move him from where he is to, director level on Lead Shark, and he can grow that. Delegation, dude. I try to delegate literally everything that I possibly can. I think that's even the course development. The typical course development process is Ankit goes through and he makes, basically me and him will talk about an outline. Now that's the process. We talk about the outline, plan out the outline. He can't write the outline anymore. He can't be trusted with that. So we plan out the outline together. Then he does the research to fill in the outline. Then I check all that work, rewrite the slides, etc. And then we do the courses that way. So even course development, like you wonder how I'm able to make all this content. It's like that. It's outsourced. Same with like some of our content, like the inbox was just us pulling cold email scripts together. So I think that was Roxana or Alina. Alina did that one. So she just pulled in all our data. So I'm here, as the idea guy, but our team is really doing, 90% of the work or more.
And that's the way to do it. I mean, right. If you're there to generate ideas and you're there to bring energy to the table, that's, I can't imagine a better way to do it, especially if you trust everyone you're around. And I think the backup to trust is just, hey, it's okay to fail. because it sounds like a lot of what you're working is behind the scenes. It's not like you're on a live product. You probably have much more refinement once the product is live. But when it's in the works, it's fine to botch something. I mean, I've thrown away projects in the 300-hour range, which is the most painful thing in the world. But sometimes it has to happen. I mean, I know experiments in the mobile world cost me a minimum of, I'd say $30,000 to $40,000 before we realized that we had to abandon ship. It's like, well, either we spend $200,000 on something we know for a fact is going to make us $500 a year, which happens, or we just cut ties and move on. And I'll see a lot of kind of an emotional tie from some people on the project, and I can understand that because from a creative standpoint, it can become your baby. But that's I think the job of ruthless money decision maker type person is to just know when enough is enough and to move on. So
I agree.
Do you always have a list of projects in mind? Like, do you have this growing list of what's next, or you just kind of wait till the launch before you get into something else?
I don't have any plan at all. Like today, I remembered that we had this SaaS that we built earlier called Twitter Threader. So I posted a thread from our book that I was editing called Email Manifesto using Twitter Threader. And then somebody clicked that, saw the thread, and became our first customer for our SaaS that I built 6 months ago. And he actually had a bunch of great feedback. So we were able to use his payment that he made to fund the development of all the changes. And now Twitter Threader is going to be called Story Threader. And it's actually going to be like a real SaaS. So no, dude, there's no plan. Like sometimes I'll remember something and then I'll be like, oh yeah, what's going on there? And then we'll go back and we'll work on it.
That's wild. Yeah, I just, I used to program. I used to do all sorts of stuff, and not for real, but like, let's call it fake programming. I can get by. The joke with my devs is that we copy and paste some code snippets from a 12-year-old who posted on a website 15 years ago, call it a day. Like if it works, it works. The back end doesn't need to be pretty to get something launched. But I've never got in the, you all software as a service types. I've never entered that field. I guess I've never really talked at depth about what that even means or what that environment looks like. And it sounds like a lot of you in the Twitter space have some, call it simple solutions. Another way to put it is just like a very niche market, a very singular thing that it resolves, but paired with other aspects of your workflow, it can really increase either the productivity or say a marketing campaign or whatever, right?
That's all. So if you want to do SaaS dev for cheap, like Browse Domains cost us $400 because it was just like, built-in Bootstrap. I think it has one functionality. It's just like lists of words combined, checked against a domain database to see if the domains are available or not. So like you want, Falcon Trader or like, bird stock, and then it'll combine like falconstock.com and it'll find it for you. So very simple. And then Twitter Threader, similar. It's just post a block of text. It'll cut it into a Twitter thread, and then you can post it in one click for $5 a month, which I thought was a cool idea. And I thought it had enough of an edge to sell itself, but then I got bored and abandoned the project. So now I'm back. Story Threader.
No, I think it's neat. I think anyone who can optimize. I still can't I can't figure out how to put a return, carriage return in Twitter on mobile. I just can't. I mean, sometimes it'll show up as an option. I click it once, it won't happen again. It's just like there's enough of a battle going on. So everything I write looks like a mushed paragraph for the most part. And I know the people that format their tweets and have some sex appeal behind it do much better in the space. I know that that's like definitely a thing. So anything to make that process easier and compose drafts and get out a good thread, it's probably a helpful thing. So yeah, you're right. And those easy barrier to entry, low barrier to entry products can add up when you got a potential audience of hundreds of thousands and millions.
Yeah, and if not, it's fine. So with Twitter Threader, I want to build in the viral loop of exactly how Ryan signed, our first customer signed, is exactly working as intended for the marketing of Twitter Threader. This was actually, I think, the first thread I posted with Twitter Threader ever. I just never had the balls to post before. I didn't want to hit the post because I was like, I didn't want this thing on the bottom of my thing.
Yeah.
But no, that's working as intended. It's kind of like the Hotmail thing, where whenever you used to send an email with Hotmail, it was like sent with Hotmail. So this is like you post a thread for free on Twitter Threader. It says created by Twitter Threader, and then a certain percentage is going to pay to remove that branding. And it's supposed to automatically market. That's the other thing I'm trying to do more of is products that market themselves, because I'm not going to commit my life to any of this shit, dude. If Twitter Threader is going to be able to sell itself, then it's going to go. And if not, it's going to fail.
I will say so I had a site I think we were doing about 2 million unique visitors a month, average stay time of like 7 minutes each. I know nothing about monetization. I mean, just abysmal numbers each month. And it's just not my world. And that's one of those things I'm interested in people who've done something like they could have probably taken that to a $10 million business a year. And here I am making, like 28 grand. And I think I consider myself lucky on a site with that much traffic. We started doing this thing at the end of each piece of media, right? It would just have the Facebook link. And I never even checked it. I mean, I'm not big on Facebook. Back in the day, though, this has all kind of been abandoned since then. But I went and checked in once, and we had 67,000 followers on our account with like no content. I mean, no posting, no content, no nothing. It was just at the end of every message was that one little thing that said, follow us on Facebook. And it was wild how much that worked. So yeah, you adding, imagine an SEO or social media person fighting to gain every one of those followers versus an automated system that just helps sell itself in this kind of endless feedback loop. So I think that's, those little tricks take almost zero effort after you know what you're doing. But that first time is probably a really great epiphany of like, holy crap, it's making money on its own. So that's a nice setup, probably understated.
In India, everyone uses Paytm. So now we're opening an Indian business bank account because we can't accept like the main payment platform that everybody in India uses. They just pay with like QR codes on their phone. So that's been a hassle to do. But yeah, like a lot of Indians don't have PayPal. I know you think they do, because like that.
No, I've had a lot of struggles paying through PayPal. Let's just say to like foreigners, to other vendors, and it turns into what is it, a Zelle or a this or a that, and then you're doing wire transfers. Everything's rejected. It's taken me like a month to pay someone something over $2,000 and 5 trips to the bank. So yeah, I know that there's definitely limitations. It's not like an end all be all. So
and nothing is really like taken over. So for instance, like international payments, my favorite is Google Pay integrates with Wire. So if they make a Google Pay account, you make a Google Pay account, Wire will send with no fees. But who knows that? I didn't know that. No freelancer has told me that. I had to go to India, see that they're using Google Pay and I'm using Google Pay, and connect our Google Pays together in order to even figure out that was a thing that existed. So it's just like a lot of the solutions are out there, but nobody has explored them, or nobody's really popularizing them the right way.
You're in the trenches. I know from my own kids that they have no clue that you can actually learn things on the internet. Like they don't know that there's actual information out there, and that you can learn even more if you have a real world experience. It's just, it's kind of I think goes over most people's heads, and it's just the most obvious thing. I can't tell you the number of times I've charged a client for an hour of them asking me to Google something for them. It's like, hey, I'm happy to take your money and type this in. And I'll even say, I'll let me Google that for you, just kind of like rub it in. Like, what are you calling me for? But, people are people, and I'm always, customer service me is always happy to provide. I don't care. It doesn't rub me the wrong way. But yeah, you're getting kind of like these in the trenches experiences that I just don't think a lot of other people can contend with. And somehow you're still on an East Coast timeline. I don't know that you sleep at all. I don't know. Is that like, how are you managing that?
Now it's 10:09 p.m. Yeah. I sleep. Usually I'll sleep from like 12 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I get my 8 hours, get my 8.5 hours. But usually like what happens is like sometimes, like if I wake up, I'm awake. So if I wake up at 6 a.m., I'm just going to go at 6.
Yeah. I swear I had another question here. As far as like delegation goes, as far as trusting other people, what's your process look like? I swear it was you who wrote something about not micromanaging. Kind of everyone's almost a business entity of their own. And if you could, like they each have the ability to sort of be an owner in the process. Has that worked for you has that worked for you over time? Has that burned you? Have you learned any lessons? Because I know that in very specific aspects of my company, I definitely don't want to let go. I'm going to chalk that up under due diligence, not lack of trust. So it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I want to make sure that it's done very specifically the way that I need it to be done. So are there certain topics that you just don't cross that barrier and you retain yourself? And is everything else kind of let's just say, up for grabs. If somebody proves that they're capable of doing this thing, or they just ask and say, hey, you know what, try me out. Are you willing to just give them the go ahead and let them, see what happens?
I'm completely egoless, so anyone could take over anything, bro. Someone could even just start ghostwriting my tweets, and you wouldn't know. I wouldn't say anything. But no,
Yeah.
the reason, the way that I want people to act in my organization is exactly how I act in an organization, which is become the owner and to start doing shit. Like, don't ask me if you can steal my phone and write 10 tweets. Don't ask me if you can run Facebook ads. Just like add yourself as admin, start spending my money and see what happens. That's the way that I operate. And that's the thing
that would freak me. That would freak me out. Yeah, that's not normal. I'm gonna say that's not normal. That's called insubordination over here. I don't know. Maybe you've got a different term for it.
So the way I think about it is, would an organization run better if it was a bunch of rapscallions running around doing whatever they want, as long as the vision of the company was clear? Yeah, I think so. If it was a bunch of people that had the best interest of the company at heart and were given the freedom to do whatever they want, if it was a bunch of those people, would the business do better? Yeah. And I think we have 3 people in our organization that really fit this role. Like Div on my team, he's an owner. He's going for it. Robert, my co-founder, also able to just work. We could not talk for weeks and the business would go. Same with Div. And then also, what was it? Div and Robert are the two really, really good ones on the team, I think, actually. So, and Jacob Terwiner, who's our top sales guy at X27, also able to run. He's spinning up his own campaigns. He's running his own YouTube channel now. He's developed like an offer. He kind of pivoted X27 from lead gen services to sales training. Like, there are these people out there. Ankit's kind of training to be this, but he still asks permission too much. There are these people out there that are able to, do it. And that's what we want inside our organization. Yeah. We want a bunch of people that are just going for it. Like, they could either work with us or they could not work with us. Like, and Jacob could make $2 million next year selling his own products, but he chooses to be in an organization because he likes it. Same with Div. Like, Div could be doing whatever he wanted, but he chooses to be here. Robert could go, he's got his own separate 6-figure agency. Like, he could just do that. But and me, like, who knows what I could be doing? I could be doing some crazy shit. And I like the idea of us being just like a bunch of people that happen to understand that it's better when we work together.
I get the feeling. So I think my difference in perspective is because I'm always working for end clients, and anyone's screw up is, at the end of the day, it's on me. Whether it's my screw up, my team's screw up, or whatever. I mean, so we really try not, we basically try not to screw up. We've all been doing this for years and years and years. Really solid team with low turnover. But it's right. It's not the freedom of like, hey, you pick whatever you want to work on today. Like, I'm managing the schedules and wrangling this and wrangling that. Whereas I don't feel like you've got those schedule restrictions. Maybe you committed to a launch date of something, but you probably could be like, screw it, we're not ready, and that's the next post. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in that corporate world. Backed into a little bit of that corner, definitely. And anyone who says like, being self-employed means you don't have a boss. That's not true. Maybe it's true for you. Maybe you're one of those people that just is completely free. And I mean, that's awesome, but that's definitely the difference that I see.
Well, my word is my boss. So like, if we do commit to a deadline, we're hitting that deadline 100% every single time, dude. I don't think we've ever missed a deadline when it comes to like course development or even launching our SaaS. Like Robert said, it'd be out at the end of September. His team's testing it right now. It's in the final phases of testing. We've released 3-4 YouTube videos every single week for 6 years. Like, I'm a big fan of doing what you say you're going to do. And my team is as well. Like, we don't really tolerate people that don't do that. We don't tolerate people that say things are going to be done on a Friday and then it's done on like a Monday the next week. Like, that's just not.
To me, that's grounds for dismissal on a vendor. I mean, it's just, you say you're going to do something, because to me, it's like the worst case. Tell somebody in advance that you're going to screw up, and at least they're informed. Give someone an update, and at least, those words don't cost you anything other than some goodwill and all that. So, no, that's wild. I mean, and you've definitely got to have those standards to be successful in the long term. Because right, I loved your phrase, if your word is your boss. I mean, that's what drives you, and that's, I think, what brings your concept to the table and makes it solid. because someone could look at you and say, again, you're all over the place. Focus. But the focus doesn't need to be on the topic. The focus could just be your personality. The focus could be your drive. And obviously you're good at generating ideas, or you're at least very perceptive of the world around you and you see the opportunity for an idea. I'm sure some of these things hit you, like the American English, where you weren't looking for that idea. The idea just presented it to yourself through some discussion or through something you were doing. So, it's like anything, be open and the world will provide to you. You're kind of proof that that's working out. So it's good to see, and it's odd seeing someone enjoying themselves so much. An assumption on my part, but I got to say, you look pretty happy, and you look like you're having
We're
a good
killing
time.
it. We're freaking killing it, bro. It's fun. Like it really is. It really is following the hype. It's like you open yourself up to what does the universe want me to do, and then you just kind of do it. And then I think where we run into issues is when we try to force other things. So when I was trying to be like a filmmaker before, I would sit down to write a script. Like last year, I think I wrote 2 full feature film scripts and 22 short films, and we made 3 short films. And the entire time, I felt like I needed to be a filmmaker, and I was forcing myself to work and forcing myself to do all this stuff. But now when I make courses and stuff, I don't feel like I'm forcing anything. I feel like I sit down and like the greatest course of all time starts pouring out. And there's a difference. I think there's a difference there in doing what you think you're put on this earth to do and doing what you're actually put on this earth to do. And the only way to find the actual is to just tap into the universe and kind of let it guide you.
And that's what's, I've been an introvert my whole life. I've never made a big thing about networks. I don't market my services. I don't really do sales. I do sales just as a byproduct of me forming relationships with people. I mean, sales could be the relationship. It could just be the quality of your work. And that's how I've gotten by, through word of mouth, after 20 plus years of doing what I do. But I'd say the last 4 weeks to me have been some of the most exciting. I went from abandoning my Twitter account to actively seeking people out. And I started with a few people that seemed like they were fairly well connected. And that person led to this person. And I just try to DM them and set up a video chat like I did with you. And 8 seconds later, we were doing a live session after we first met. And it's just like, you know what? It's so awesome getting to meet people. I had a chat last night, and I swear I'm not like joking. It probably changed my life. And it introduced me to things that I've never been introduced to before. All because someone had one. It's a little too deep for this conversation. No, it's more on a personal level, let's just say. But it was really about personal growth. And it was about shedding off all opinions of basically the entire world and knowing exactly who you are and doing this. But this guy was just, amazing. And I was not expecting it. The topic was a little bit off from what I was expecting. And I swear it changed my life, and it's led me on a path all since 2 p.m. yesterday. And I thought all social media was BS. I can't stand social media from an entertainment standpoint. But as I get used to it, I can see that there is value, knowledge, entertainment, meaning just be yourself, because you've all seen those feeds where it's so homogenized and so clean that you almost feel like there's not a real human behind there. And I definitely am pulled towards people who write from their heart and write from experience, as opposed to, say, taking a book and find their 9,000 favorite quotes, maybe tweaking the wording a little bit and chucking it out there. There's definitely too much sterility when it comes to that. So that's been my experience.
That was the biggest thing that changed for me this year as well. So I unfollowed a bunch of people on Twitter that didn't follow me back. And then I followed a bunch of other people. Like Ty Frankel brought me into money Twitter. Then I met Daniel, I met Donvesh, I met like Vision in Sales, Oliver Canton, like all these guys. And they were just so supportive and so awesome. And I just started reading all their tweets. And then I started following all the other guys, like, JK Molina and like, everyone. I just started following all these other guys and like really seeing what they were doing. And it rewired my brain, dude. It made me realize that I was plateaued. I was falling behind, and maybe I had even peaked in 2017 or 2018. And so it was only by rereading and seeing the shit that I was like, oh, these kids are 21. When I was 21, I was so hyped up. What happened? And how do I do this again? Because I was stuck in this box, exactly like what you're saying. I was a cold email guy. And I was afraid. I was so afraid to branch out of cold email that like I would write songs. Like I wrote this song called it was like, why doesn't Alex just stick to sending cold emails? And it was about like the hate I got. And like, no, that's how like deep this shit was in my brain. And like we used to do animations for Pauly Shore, who's like that 90s dude. And he was stuck in his Weasel character. And I felt like I was stuck in the cold email character exactly the same way. And it was only this year when we started, you know, really reading Money Twitter, when I really started getting into this stuff and like riffing every thought I had into Twitter, that I started seeing for myself how many other topics that I have even to talk about. I'm not the cold email guy anymore. Like cold email now is so far away from what we do. And even like agency growth is so far away from what we do. Like NFTs, I didn't even know about this until this year. Crypto, I didn't even know about till this year. And it's all from Twitter. Literally, like Twitter has changed my life as well.
Which is right. I mean, I'm almost, because I've gotten into phases where it's like, wow, I'm just reading other people's crap. But when you switch from entertainment to creation, that is key. And if anyone out there is suffering with addiction to Twitter, you know, I'm no longer offended that I spent 4 hours on average a day on Twitter, because I know that I'm actively trying to create content. Like to me, that's work. To me, that's networking now. Whereas before, that would have been literally, you know, 4 something hours of just absorbing other people's stuff, which is no good. It's just no good. I mean, you're literally wasting your life at that point. So, you know, be bold and try something new. And I think that, yeah, musically, like I've gotten stuck in a rut, the same patterns, the same song, the same this, the same that. Time to switch to a new instrument. I'm on like my 4th instrument now, into music theory and all these other things. And it's just, as an adult, you got to keep growing. In my 20s, iPhones didn't even exist. So it was a different world, definitely back then. I mean, there was just the networking capability. The limitation was like a business first meeting where you have like a giant tray of bacon and you have to suffer through the conversation with about 10 attorneys. I mean, that was it for networking. LinkedIn came along and, you know, got a little bit better. I won some good clients there, but yeah, I truly had no clue what Twitter was about for real until this time around. I took a 6-month break, probably from December to, you know, early mid-year, and came back. And I'm at the point where I'm looking to, you know, possibly abandon the direction of my account in some forms, go a little bit less anonymous, and just really start getting into what I truly love, which is business, talking entrepreneurship with other people, and just seeing what's out there, you know, making friends basically. It's a journey for sure. It sounds like you're enjoying it too.
I'm really enjoying it. You can't judge anyone by their follower count either. That's the craziest thing. Like Tom is on Twitter, like my mentor, the guy who built on track to build an 8-figure agency. Tom Tancredi has 300 followers on Twitter, you know, like, and then, you know, the kid with the $8,000 a month agency has 65,000 followers on Twitter, like, you know, hundreds of copies of his course sold. But like, it's only because Tom would never make a course. He would never in a million years. So you can't judge people by their Twitter following. And I think that's so much, like, I'm talking to you, bro. You're richer than half of Money Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's my favorite joke is, you know, these people, and you look at them and they're anonymous, and you know, you feel this respect and you feel this weight of every word they say. And then they're like, it's my 18th birthday. I'm doing some shots. And you're like, wait a minute. Not to be ageist, because you know what's funny is starting my business at 18, I had all the ageism comments of like, why is this little kid sitting at the table? And it used to piss me off to no end. But I guess it's, you know, that's cosmic fate. Like now it's their turn to like suffer through the same thing. But that's what it is. You gotta earn the respect of others. And yeah, I think once you realize it's not about account size on Twitter, it's just truly about networking. And I think the really cool people are the ones who are open to anything. You know what I mean? And same with timeline. I'm one of those people where I will always and can always make time. Other people portray themselves as never having the time. It's almost like this defensive filter is the way I feel. But I personally get a lot more out of making time for everybody. I don't know. I just do, because I think that not everybody is built to get through your defenses. And I'm more excited to see what somebody has to say than prove that they could get through my whatever mind games to get in touch with me or something like that. So I've had hour-long screen shares with people with 1 follower. You know what I mean? It's kind of irrelevant. and you're limiting yourself to who you meet. So
I think it's something to do with hating yourself to not want to meet. Because I did the same. Like, I hate meetings. I hate talking to anyone ever, dude. I would make, like, we were charging $1,000 an hour consulting, and I dropped it because I didn't want to talk to anyone, like, for real. And then it was only this year, like, I moved to Vegas. I met Dennis Yu, who's an influencer, like, whatever. He's a Facebook ads guy, and everyone that he talked to, he had 70,000 followers. And every single person, he would message them. He would send them like 15-second videos, like, "Oh yeah, thanks for sending me this comment," like nonstop.
wow.
And it just it opened my eyes, dude. And it made me realize, like, it made me think. It was like, why do I hate this person that loves me so much? You know, like, my fans hit me up because they're watching my YouTube videos for months and months or even years, or they're hitting me up because I've changed something about them fundamentally. Why do I feel like I hate them? And I realized it's because I was jealous of them, right? They come in, they're like, "Alex, I watched your YouTube video and I'm making $60,000 a month. Thank you. You changed my life." And deep down, I would think, "Oh, fuck this dude, bro. Where's my 60,000 a month?"
That's very honest of you.
It's only by moving away from that feeling that you open yourself up to a lot of the opportunities out there. Like, I could be mad that Daniel, Cold Email Wizard, took my YouTube videos and made his own course. Or I could be happy that he was able to build this empire and basically open up all of Money Twitter and open up all of these new opportunities. Like, and I love what he's done with it. I love what a lot of the gurus have done with everyone's YouTube videos. I personally have taken a lot of content from Ramit Sethi. You know, like, everyone reuses everything. And I just love to see
funny.
it.
It's funny because there's
to come to terms with that.
Most, people just don't. Back to that millionaire mindset content or concept I had, where it's right. You stop thinking in hundreds, think in thousands. This whole thing where there's a limitation on money is just so absolutely false. Money is a construct of society, and it's just like it's whatever you want it to be. I know that's hard to say when you're living paycheck to paycheck. If you're, you can't make rent, it's a whole lot harder to have that flighty attitude towards it. But you almost need to embrace that attitude before you'll ever get over that hump. And it's not to spend it all over the place and spend it without thought. At a certain point, you need to put that thought in there. But you're never going to get over that hump if you treat it like the end all be all. And, that's my journey right now. I have enough, and I felt empty. I felt truly empty. But I just, my perspective on money, I mean, if someone has $10 billion, I could give a crap. All I can think is, wow, that is awesome for you. I just don't have a jealous thought in my mind. And it's just, it's so much more pleasant, because I think a lot of people like that. And I know, like, on a looser term, I think what you were experiencing was a little bit of, like, say, a celebrity concept where you're in the spotlight and have to perform. And these people were using what, they gained from you to achieve very quickly. And I think it can kind of suck sometimes if you're not used to it.
I think it's deeper than that. It's like, I saw my own choices, my own bad choices played out. So I went to Hollywood to become a stand-up comedian and make movies, right? Meanwhile, Guillermo from Lemlist took the cold email concept and built Lemlist, right? And Sujin grew Mailshake, and Will, in the same time period, grew Uplead, building on this ZoomInfo lead gen concept. Like, I introduced a lot of the people in this space to ZoomInfo.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I would see that, and then I would be like, I'm a friggin' retard. What am I doing? But also, I'm making these choices. Like, it made me really question, like, a lot of the choices in my life. Like, why did I want to be a stand-up comedian? What was I running from? Why didn't I want to build a SaaS, right? Because we were subscribed to ZoomInfo in 2018. We knew the issues with ZoomInfo. Robert had a development team. He still does. We could have built Uplead easily, right? We could have built Lemlist. It grew to 5 million in the time that we were dicking around.
But you're young. I'm trying to think from your parents' perspective. Why did I want to become a comedian? Like, that's like the parents' worst nightmare. Right? Isn't this a funny twist of fate? So, right, my background is an art student, no math, no business, no, absolutely nothing. And I just faked it, and I faked it, and I faked it, and I just kept saying yes to every possible thing I could. And I had years where I made $6,000. That's not a lot of money for where I live, which is a pretty modest, middle of the US area. And it just took years. It took years and years and years and years to make it overnight. And to the outside world, it looks like you just made it and it was easy. And it's like, yeah, I could do it in my sleep now. But you and I both know, I mean, it's never that simple. And it truly is experimentation. I personally feel like a total lack of experimentation. And that's what I'm getting into, with all these conversations. I mean, who knows? I'm not looking for a business concept, but I might meet someone and it's just like, we're the perfect fit for something. And what the hell? We got the time, we got the money, let's go for it. But right now it's just such a loose construct of just see what's out there and keep the conversation rolling. What a transition from, comedian to business mogul traveling the world. I mean, it's just you just wouldn't expect it.
But I was doing the agency before. So what happened was I was running this agency. It was stressing me out. So I ran away to Paris and Romania. And then I was still running the agency, moved back to Wichita. After that didn't help. Made Robert the CEO to just kind of nope out. And then I went and moved to LA with my brother. And we were just kind of like running the agency, doing consulting and stuff on the side. But I have no idea, bro. I've just been fully living in the moment for years and years and years.
That's good. I can't, my version of that is not knowing what's scheduled 3 weeks out. So I can't say my version's that exciting, but there's those people that have their schedules booked 6 months in advance. And I generally don't know what I'm doing the Monday after the current Monday. And that keeps things exciting enough to me to keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah, it's like on my hand, I love what I'm doing, but I definitely have room for growth and I've got room to get into some other things. And I'm not up on technology. I don't read. I don't watch news. That's probably why I'm happy. I read books, but I don't keep up on current events. Let's just say that. But it's time to get back into the game, I think is the deal. So staying in the game in the first place is probably important and rolling from there. So I'm we got to tie this up a little bit. Is there anything you want to leave? I guess some inspirational thoughts, or let's say, what's one major concept or rule that you live by that you could share with the audience? Let's say they could just sort of do one thing with a mindset shift or a day-to-day habit. What's your takeaway? What kind of bonus can you give them?
The biggest thing is trust yourself. So your initial gut feeling of what you think should exist is the thing that should exist. And over time, like you think you want to do a cool project and then you Google online how the project should look. And it's that changing of the project based from your mindset to what you think it should be. That's where it becomes cringe and that's where it starts failing. So if you just trust yourself and you make that thing that you initially thought of, then success becomes easy. That's it. Creating stuff becomes easy. Content becomes easy. It's in the overworking of the content and in doing things to be cool or doing things to be who we think we should be instead of who we know we are. That's where things start falling apart.
I can relate. I love it. I can relate in that given a public talk, the ones where I know exactly what I'm doing or I'm presenting, say, my own project or my own process, I could talk for 3 hours straight. The ones where I have to memorize and sort of pretend to be someone who I'm not or talk on a subject I'm not quite skilled at, I get clammy. I get, I just your voice starts cracking. Like you just know that you're an imposter at that point. And so, right, the sooner you can fully embrace who you are. And, the affirmations are true. It's a pretty common trait, I think, among successful people is just being positive and being thankful for the world around you and taking every opportunity that it gives you, not being negative and not locking yourself off on others. You can truly learn just as much from someone on day one as you can on day 500 as far as a novice versus an expert. And I think that, approaching the world in that direction is the way to be. So that's a great takeaway. And, as usual, I appreciate your time. And I think this is a good chat. It was nice to learn more about you. I hope everyone had a good time listening in.
I appreciate you as well. Thanks for putting this whole thing together.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to smash that like button to encourage this type of content on YouTube. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you want Vishal to, what is happening? Subscribe down below and I'll talk to you later.